Hello! In the first part of this video, we create new forest and domain tree and promoting the first domain controller and DNS in Windows Server 2012 R2 and Windows Server 2016. Now, we are going to promote additional domain controller with DNS in Windows Server 2012 R2 or Windows Server 2016 as it's the same steps, no change. The additional domain controller is required for services redundancy and for domain authentication improvement in the site. Also avoid business discontinuity in case of server failure for the primary domain controller. I have created new server and performing the same steps in the first server. Install 2012 R2, go to local server. As you see, the server is work group. I renamed the server to lab-dc-02, enable remote desktop, assign IP 10.0.0.21, select dashboard, add rules and features, next, rule based, next, select server, next, select Active Directory Domain Service checkbox, asking me to add additional features that required for Active Directory Domain Service, add features, select DNS checkbox 2, add features, next, all selected features required, next, information on requirement and best practice for Active Directory Domain Service, next, the same for DNS, next. Confirmation dialog is a final checkpoint before the rule installation starts. Install now. The installation completes successfully. Close. Go to task notifications and press promote this server to a domain controller. In the deployment configuration, we will select add a domain controller to an existing domain to promote additional domain controller, as we already have a new forest and domain tree created in the first part of this video. Enter the domain name, free cloud. Press change to enter the credentials that have domain admin rights to promote. OK. Next. In the first part of this video, all options are unavailable and selected by default when creating a new forest root domain, because the first domain controller must be a global catalog and DNS and cannot be a read-only domain controller. But now all options available. Anyway, I will select the DNS and global catalog for availability. In the site name, we already have single site, so we will keep the default first site name. Enter directory service restore mode password. Next. DNS delegation warning, as this server is not yet a DNS server. Next. Select the source DC to replicate from. We can define if we need to install this domain controller from any domain controller or specific domain controller. I will select first domain controller lab-dc-01. Next, the location to install Active Directory Domain Service database and logs. Browse to override the default paths. Next, review your settings. Next, prerequisites check before the installation. Install. The server will automatically reboot after 10 seconds. Close. Log in to the server. As you see, we will log into domain. The server is successfully configured as an additional domain controller, and Active Directory Domain Service and DNS is ready to be used on this server. Open Tools. As you see, all management admin tools installed. Open Active Directory Site and Services. Open Sites. Default first site name. Servers. As you see, new server created. Open lab-dc-02 and select NTDS settings to check the connection link. Connection link still not created. Right click and select replicate configuration to the selected DC to push the information to selected DC. Confirmation message. Active Directory domain services are replicated with each others. Again, right click, select replicate configuration from the selected DC to pull the information from the selected DC. Confirmation message. Active Directory are replicated the connections. Refresh. The connection generated. Right click, replicate now to force the replication. Replicated. Okay. Let's check the first server. NTDS. Refresh. The connection link created. Right click, replicate now to force the replication. Replicated. Okay. I hope you have enjoyed. Many thanks and see you in the next video.